Okay, class, we have section 2.3, subtracting integers. Section A, subtracting integers. We know that subtraction is the opposite of addition, so it is reasonable that when we subtract, we are really adding the opposite value, and therefore going in the opposite direction on a number line. To see this, think about a simple problem, 8 minus 5. In words, 8 subtract positive 5. So we could say 8 adds negative 5. So we could have 8 plus negative 5. This is what you're thinking. And we know 8 minus 5 will give us 3. But let's take a look down here. This is what you're going to do. We have a positive 8 because even though the sign is not shown here, when there's no sign shown, that's a positive. So this is a positive 8 minus 5. Now, we go on here. Hold on, I need to go back here. And we know positive 8 minus 5 will give us positive 3. Okay, now, if we scroll down here, it says let's try the same approach with another problem. Negative 3 minus 7. It says in words, negative 3 subtract positive 7. So negative 3, and then we will add negative 7. That's another way of rewriting this. So it's negative 3 plus a negative 7. And we know when we have the same sign, we add them together and carry the sign. So we know a negative 3 minus 7 is supposed to give us a negative 10. Okay. Now it says let's try the same approach one more time. Now if you notice, this problem is a little different because we start off with a negative number and then minus another negative number. So it says here negative 4 subtract negative 6. So that is the same as negative 4 and then we add positive 6. So it'll be negative 4 plus 6. Now, the reason why we do this, remember when we encountered a problem like this here? We had the negative on the outside and I told you it was the opposite of negative 6, which is 6, right? Isn't that what we have here? The opposite of negative 6 is going to be positive 6. So we would end up with a negative 4 plus 6. So negative 4 plus 6, we know we will subtract because they have different signs. So we know our answer will have a 2. But because we know that 6 is more units from 0 than a negative 4, we know our answer is going to be positive. So it's positive 2. Now we go here to page, the next page. It says in algebra, we usually prefer to write all expressions using as few symbols as possible. So in the first two examples above, it is preferable to use the subtraction forms 8 minus 5 and negative 7 minus 3 as you work sample problems. Try to get used to finding the answers without changing these to the addition form. In the last example, the form 4 plus 6 is preferred. Many people simply cross the two minus signs to change this to the addition form. 4 minus a negative 6 becomes 4 plus a positive 6, which you should write it as this here, just 4 plus 6. Okay, so let's go through this here. We had 13 minus 4. We know we could go off to the side and say 13 minus 4. We cannot subtract 4 from 3, so we borrow 1 from this 1 and that's 0, and this 3 will become 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. So our final answer here is 9. Now, we have negative 8 minus 2. Now remember, you should leave it this way, but in your head, I'm going to write what you should be thinking in your head. In your head, you should know that this is negative 8 plus a negative 2. And we know whenever we add the same sign, we add them together and we keep the sign. So it'll be a negative 10. Now this is what you're supposed to be thinking in your head, and then you will write down your answer. Now, 11 minus a negative 15. This is the same as saying 11 plus 15. 11 plus 15 is 26. Now, we come here to number 4. This would give us negative 9, and minus a negative 1 will become plus 1. because remember, this is the opposite of negative 1, which is positive 1. And going back to number 3, the opposite of negative 15 is positive 15. So now, since these have different signs, we know we're going to subtract. We can go off to the side and say 9 minus 1 is 8. So we know our answer is going to have an 8. But now we have to determine its sign. Negative 9 is more units away from 0 than 1. So our final answer would be negative 8. Now we scroll down here to number 5. 6 minus 9. Now remember, in your head, you should be thinking 6 plus a negative 9. And we know when we add with different signs, we subtract. So we can go off to the side and say 9 minus 6 will give us 3. So we know our answer is going to have a 3 in it. But since 9 is negative and is more units from 0 than 6, then your answer would be negative 3. Now we come here to number 6. Now I'm not going to write down again what you should be thinking in your head. You should know that this will give us a negative 19. Now if you need to see what you should be thinking in your head, now you see for some reason this number disappeared, but it is a negative 19. Just for clarity's sake. Now if you need to see what you should be thinking in your head, you can go right back up here to problem number 2. Problem number 2 and problem number 6 is similar. So you should be thinking in your head this and then write down your answer. Now we scroll down here to number 7. We add negative 3 minus a negative 4. We know that this will become negative 3 plus 4. And we will subtract. Negative 3 plus 4 will give us a positive 1. Because we know 4 minus 3 is 1. I'll write that off to the side. And we know 4 is more units from 0 than negative 3. So it will give us positive 1. Now we come here to number 8. We have more than 2 terms here. So first, this is what we need to do. Let's change this minus a negative 7 to addition. So we add 8 plus a negative 2 minus 9 plus 7. Now, what we could do is this here. We could just go from left to right here. 8 plus a negative 2, we know would give us 6, minus 9 plus 7. Now, 6 minus 9, we know will give us a negative 3, plus 7. Now, negative 3 plus 7 is positive 4. Now for those of you that may have got a little confused, I'm going to go back through it just to show you where you may have gotten a little confused at. When I did this minus a negative 7 and made it a plus 7, remember in your head this is really 8 plus a negative 2 plus a negative 9, and then this minus negative 7 will give you a plus 7. So that's why I went on and made this a plus 7. Now to get here to the 6, 8 plus a negative 2 is the same thing as saying 8 minus 2, which we know is 6. This is how we get our 6. And then minus 9 plus 7. 6 minus 9, we know we could say 9 minus 6 is 3. But since this 9 is more units from 0, we'll take the sign in front of this 9, which will give us a negative. So we add negative 3 plus 7. So then we would take this and say 7 minus 3, we know is 4. Well, we know this positive 7 is more units from 0 than this negative 3, so our final answer is positive 4. Now we scroll down here to example 1. It says subtract 6 from negative 15. Now like I said in class, I always say use things that relate to real life. So if we said subtract 6 from your age, you know your age would go first. So negative 15 represents your age, and we're going to subtract 6 from it. So now we know negative 15 minus 6 is the same as negative 15 plus a negative 6, which is a negative 21. Now we go here to number 2. It says subtract negative 3 from 9. So if we said subtract negative 3 from your age, we'll put your age first, which would be 9, minus a negative 3. Because we want to subtract negative 3 from 9. So this will give us 9 plus 3, and this will give us 12. Now we go down here to section B. It says evaluating expressions. Examples. Evaluate x minus y, and we know x is -5, so I substitute in -5 for x, minus y is -13. So we will have -5 minus the -13 will give us +13. -5 plus 13, we can go off to the side here and say 13 minus 5. We cannot subtract 5 from 3, so we'll borrow 1 from this 1, make that 0, and this 3 will be 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. So our answer here would be 8, and since 13 is more units than -5 from 0, our answer would be a +8. Now we go here to number 2. Number 2, we're going to substitute. Y is 9, and z is -4. Now again, you see whenever I substitute, I put these values in parentheses. So we will have 3 times 9, which is 27, minus a -4. We follow the order of operations. We can't do anything with these parentheses, so we have multiplication and subtraction. 3 times 9 is 27, and we bring down our minus a -4. So this will give us 27, minus a -4 will give us +4. 27 plus 4 is 31. Now again, our answer ended up being 31. Now, we scroll here to section C. It says solving application problems. The highest point in Asia is the top of Mount Everest at a height of 29,028 feet above sea level. The lowest point is the Dead Sea, which is 1,312 feet below sea level. How much higher is Mount Everest than the Dead Sea? Okay, so now what we would have to do is this. We know that this is a subtraction problem because we want to find out how much higher Mount Everest is than the Dead Sea. So we would take Mount Everest, which is 29,028 feet above sea level, so that means that it will be positive. So we have 29,028 feet. Now it says the lowest point is the Dead Sea, which is 1,312 feet below sea level. So we would take minus, it'll be -1,312 feet. And it's negative because this is below sea level. So we have 29,028 feet minus a -1,312 feet. So since we have minus a negative, we know that will become a positive. So that'd be plus 1,312 feet. So we would add this. We could go off to the side here, and we could add these values now. 8 and 2 is 10. We carry our 1. 1 and 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 0 plus 3 is 3. 9 plus 1 is 10. Bring down your 0, carry your 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. So our answer here would be 30,340 feet. Now, in the other problems I explained in class, when you answer a question, you're supposed to write it in a complete sentence. Now, for some of these videos, I have not written them in a complete sentence because the sake of the time of the video. But you know from class that you're supposed to write your answer as a complete sentence. So we would do that here. So we would say that Mount Everest is 30,340 feet higher than the Dead Sea. So Mount Everest is 30,340 feet higher than the Dead Sea. And that is it.